I shouldn't have to ask you 10 times to pick up your shoes. If those exact words came out of your mouth this week, or even 30 minutes ago, take a deep breath. You are not alone, and you're definitely not a bad parent. Think about it. If you bought a brand new board game and dumped all the pieces out on the table without a rule book, what would happen? Everyone would end up frustrated, arguing about what's fair and not fair, and just quitting in a huff. It would be total chaos. Yet inside our own homes, we do this exact same thing every single day. We expect our kids and our partners to just read our minds and meet standards that they don't even know exist. If you feel like you're screaming constantly just to get your family to put their freaking shoes on, stop beating yourself up. You're not a bad parent. You're just operating your home passively instead of strategically. As a mom of two, I used to let absolute chaos run me all the time. I was exhausted, I was reactive, and felt like a drill sergeant inside of my own home. But everything changed when I realized a home doesn't need more nagging. It needs actual leadership. Today, I'm going to show you the 5 shift changes that turned my household from a constant battleground into a well-oiled machine, and how you can do the exact same thing right now. To tell you how this works in real life, let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus is a project manager who leads cross-functional corporate teams by day, but 6 months ago, his house was a war zone. His 9-year-old daughter threw daily meltdowns over screen time. His 12-year-old son left a trail of destruction from the front door to the kitchen. And Marcus, he found himself shouting by 6 p.m. every single night. He was desperate for a change. Here is the exact step-by-step framework that changed his home. Step 1, the thermostat, not the thermometer. The first shift that Marcus and I had to make was not operational. It was psychological. I want you to think for a minute, what does a thermometer do? It simply reflects the environment around it, right? If the room gets hot, the thermometer spikes. If the room gets cold, it drops. Most parents act like thermometers. When your kid comes home dysregulated and they're screaming and slamming doors at 90 degrees, you match their energy to spike the 90 degrees. Now, what we have are 2 people screaming instead of just the child. The energy in the house completely explodes, and nobody is actually leading the home. A thermostat, on the other hand, does something entirely different. A thermostat doesn't care how hot it gets outside. It sets the climate inside. When the temperature spikes, the thermometer stays steady and cools the whole room. That he was acting like a thermometer every time his son lost his homework and started panicking. Instead of bringing peace, Marcus would get frustrated and he would shout about organization. He was letting a 12-year-old set the emotional climate of the home. The next time chaos broke out, Marcus executed the thermostat protocol, and I'm going to share that with you. The first thing is the 3-second pause. This is simple. Take a deep breath before opening your mouth. Next, you want to lower your tone and your cadence. Deliberately drop your voice an octave and slow your speech down by half. Last is physical anchoring. Drop down below their eye level instead of towering over them. When you refuse to match the chaotic energy in the room is forced to match yours. Co-regulation always comes before self-regulation. If you want a calm home, you must be the calmest person in the home. Step 2, build the system, don't just nag. Once you stabilize your emotional energy, you run into the second hurdle, feeling like a broken record. Write this down because this will change your entire household. Repeated arguments almost never mean you have bad people, but they mean you do have a broken system. When you find yourself nagging to someone 10 times a day to do the exact same thing, shouting louder does not fix it. Shouting is just a symptom of a failed system. Corporate leaders don't yell at employees to remember their passwords. They build a secure login portal. Marcus stopped viewing his son's clutter as disrespect and started viewing it as a friction problem. But why were shoes ending up in the middle of the hallway? Because the shoe closet was all the way down the hall, behind a heavy door, with heavy racks that were too tedious to deal with after a long school day. The path of least resistance was simply kicking them off in the hallway. So Marcus redesigned the entry system. To eliminate the friction problem, he put a wide open-top basket right next to the front door. So there were no doors to open, no racks to balance. Then he added visual anchors. He installed low coat racks right at eye level for each kid. Then he did the trigger routine. He set a daily alarm for 5:30 p.m. and he labeled it the 10-minute reset. That's when the whole family stopped and reset their zones together. Stop managing behavior through emotional friction. Design temporal and physical routines that make doing the right thing the easiest choice. Step 3 is share the playbook. This brings us back to the board game rule book. When nobody knows the rules, everybody fights. Parents hold invisible expectations in their heads, like the kitchen should be wiped down after dinner. Backpacks should be packed the night before. Homework happens before screens. But because these expectations are never explicitly written down or taught, they only get brought up when someone fails and then they get yelled at. Clear expectations create peaceful environments. People cannot meet standards that they don't know exist. So Marcus decided to sit down with his family for a 15-minute playbook meeting. I like to refer to this also as my family reflections, or a family meeting for some people. Instead of issuing orders like a dictator, he framed it as a team strategy session. He decided to define the roles by clarifying who owns what, who clears the table, who feeds the pet, who packs the lunches. Then he had to define what does done look like. Explicitly explain what a finished task looks like. Clean the table doesn't mean pushing the crumbs on the floor. It means wiping the surface and getting the dishes in the sink. You want to make it visible also. Put the family book or the family reflections with the agenda somewhere where everyone can look at it every single day. When expectations are explicit and visible, accountability shifts from you attacking them to everyone holding up their end of the contract. You stop asking, why didn't you do this? And start asking, well, what does the playbook say? What did the last family agenda say for my family reflections? What was said at the family meeting? Step number 4 is catch people doing the right thing. Most homes run on management by exception. We ignore everything that is going smoothly, and the second something goes wrong, we stop to criticize, correct, or discipline. If the only time your family ever hears your voice is when they make a mistake, then they will tune you out. They will build resentment, and they will stop trying altogether. Positive reinforcement builds culture 10 times faster than criticism ever will. Marcus realized that every time he caught out a mistake, he praised his kids maybe once when they actually followed through. The emotional bank account in his home was severely overdrawn. He committed to the 5-to-1 ratio, a principle showing that strong teams require 5 positive interactions for every single constructive critique. 5 for every one. So what he decided to do was start hunting for the good stuff. He would say things like, Maya, I noticed you put your shoes in the right place today. As soon as you walked in, that saved me so much time. Thank you so much. Or, Leo, you stayed so calm when your sister took the remote. I really appreciate your patience. This wasn't generic empty praise like, good job. It was specific, it was immediate, and it was sincere. Within 2 weeks, the tone of the entire home shifted. When people feel seen for what they're doing right, they actively seek out ways to do it again. Step 5, lead by example. So you can set up the best systems and write down the clearest playbooks and give all the praise in the world. But if you do not follow your own house rules that you established and that everyone else established as a team, the entire structure collapses. Leadership is caught. It's not taught. Your actions set the baseline standard for everyone under your roof. Marcus realized that his biggest blind spot was screen time and stress management. He was constantly telling his kids to get off their devices and stop screaming. Yet he walked through the door glued to his smartphone, complaining loudly about work, and dropping his own bags on the kitchen floor. He was demanding a standard that he wasn't willing to uphold himself. If you want a peaceful, organized, and respectful home, you have to be the first one to organize peace, respect, and organization. So Marcus started going first. When he walked into the kitchen, his phone went into the charging station for the first hour of the evening. He hung his coat up before having to remind anyone else. When he lost his patience, he apologized directly. I lost my cool earlier and we were running late. And that wasn't okay. I'm working better on staying calm. I'm sorry. That vulnerability right there earned him more respect than any rule ever could. Fast forward to today. Marcus's home is not frictionless or a perfectly sterile environment. Kids are still kids, but the screaming matches are completely gone. The morning panics have vanished. The house runs on a very clear system, shared accountability, and mutual respect. Knowing these 5 steps is one thing. Putting them into a nice, pretty package when life is moving at 100 miles per hour, that's a completely different thing. You don't need another generic to-do list. You need a structured, guided blueprint that builds these systems for you step by step. This is exactly why I created the 7-day home management guided planner. It takes all 5 of these leadership steps and principles and translates them into actionable daily steps so you can reset your home plan within 1 week. Here's a little glimpse about what's inside of that guided planner. Day 1 is a brain dump and a priority filter. Before you fix a problem, you have to clear your mind first. We also have sections in the planner about safety net meals, an ideal morning routine builder versus your current routine, a 5 p.m. reset and a close the day checklist, 15-minute reset for the zones in your house, and weekly family meetings, also known as family reflections. Great leaders do not control people. They build environments where people can thrive. Start by setting your own thermostat and build simple systems tomorrow. Which of these 5 leadership principles do you need in your home right now? Share in the comments below. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.